We've talked about disenfranchisement in general. Now, I'd just like to talk a little bit about felony disenfranchisement in particular. Angela Barons did a study on felony disenfranchisement, and basically she states that on the surface, uh, felony disenfranchisement is race neutral. So basically, what that means is that regardless of your race, if you commit a crime and you are convicted of a felony crime, then in fact, um, everything is fair across the board. But the reality is that that is not the case. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce, African American imprisonment rates have consistently exceeded that of whites since the Civil War and remain approximately 7 times higher than the rate among whites. Additionally, Christopher Unger indicates that approximately 4 million former prisoners and 11.7 former felons live among us here in the United States. And let me just define for you what a felon is and an ex-felon is. In the United States, a felony is typically defined as a crime punishable by a term of imprisonment not less than a year. So, a consequence of committing a crime and being convicted of a felony causes many of the offenders to lose their civil rights. That in itself does not seem like an unfair practice. If in fact you commit the crime, then in fact you should do the time. But statistics don't bear that out because disproportionately you have stiffer penalties for non-whites than in fact you do for whites. Another interesting statistic that I found is that some estimates say that 22.3% of the black population and 33.4% of the black adult male population are felons or ex-felons. Think about that. That is about 1/3 of the black men in America who have felony convictions. And if that's the case, you have this shrinkage of the voting populace. And if you have the shrinkage of the voting populace, and statistics do bear out that African Americans do vote more Democratic than Republican or Libertarian, you have a group of people, a segment of people who, even though they go to the poll and vote, they are at a disadvantage because 1/3 of the male population is a felon or an ex-felon, and they are not allowed to vote. These numbers are astounding, but as more and more African men fall prey to crime, we will continue to see an increase in the number of those who lose their civil rights. And that's the problem with felony disenfranchisement, is that you have these gentlemen or these men who are committing crimes who are given these felonies, and then in fact they lose their right to vote. They lose their voice. They lose their ability to say what they want to see in their communities, in their surroundings. Um, there was a judge. I want to read a quote from a judge, a federal judge, about disenfranchisement. He basically says that um, voter disenfranchisement, the disenfranchised basically becomes a non-citizen in his home, having to live with the decisions being made for himself and for his family. And he has to sit idly by and watch the outcome and not be able to do anything about it, in essence. And that's what felony disenfranchisement does. It creates such a power vacuum because now you have uh, people in office in political positions, whether it's on a state, local, national level, who are not representative of you and are not representative of the ideas and the ideologies that and the values that you want for you and your family. And you've created this avenue where you cannot vote, you cannot do anything. And that is a sad reality. It's reality, but it's a sad reality all the same. And so felony disenfranchisement adversely affects the African American community. Again, we find ourselves in a place where we are disenfranchised because of laws that will not allow us to vote, even after we have served our time, even after we have served our supervisory period, and that's parole and or probation. Many states do not automatically give these felons their right to vote. Texas, however, does. Once a felon has completed his time served and he has completed his supervisory time. Again, that supervisory time means he's completed parole and or probation, then his rights are immediately given to him. But many people don't know that they have the right to vote once they have completed serving their time. I, as a matter of fact, thought that if you were a felon, you didn't get to vote. You were just out of luck, my friend. But I've found since this study that that is not the case.